My name is Tom Richards, and I serve as the chairperson of the University of Pittsburgh Board of Trustees. I would like to welcome everyone to the annual meeting of the board. This meeting has been duly advertised as a public meeting in accordance with the Sunshine Act and is therefore open to members of the public as observers. Due to regulations put in place in response to COVID-19, the majority of the university's facilities are closed to the public. Therefore, this meeting is being streamed on the university's YouTube channel and is also being recorded. The recording will later be made available via the Board of Trustees website. A quorum is present for the transaction of business. Participation in the meeting is limited to members of the board and to those individuals the board has invited in advance to take part. I would like to acknowledge and welcome our ex officio trustees or their designees in attendance. Dr. Tanya Garcia, who is the Deputy Secretary and Commissioner of Post-Secondary and Higher Education, Pennsylvania Department of Education, and the designee of Secretary of Education, Noe Ortega. County Executive Rich Fitzgerald, who is an ex officio trustee. Representative Dan Frankel, who is Governor Wolf's designee to the board. Sadly, since the winter meeting, several trustees have lost family members, as have many members of our Pitt and local community. On behalf of the board, I would like to offer my condolences to all of those who have recently lost loved ones. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember all of those individuals. Thank you. The minutes from the board's winter meeting were distributed to you in advance of today's meeting and can be found in the meeting materials. Are there any corrections? Can I have can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Thank you. The minutes of the winter Board of Trustees meeting as circulated are hereby approved. We will now receive updates from committees of the board, which held public meetings since our winter Board of Trustees meeting in February. I'd like to call on Pete Faraschetti for the report of the Property and Facilities Committee. Pete.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The Property and Facilities Committee met in information meetings on April 28th, June 9th, and June 17th, 2021. During a duly advertised public meeting on June 17th, 2021, the committee approved 2 projects and 2 real estate acquisitions. The first approved project is the Hillman Library renovation phase 3. This is the 3rd phase of a 4-phase floor-to-floor renovation of Hillman Library. Phase 3 will renovate approximately 40,000 square feet of space on the 1st and 2nd floors. Work will include reconfiguration of space, new finishes, furnishings, window replacement, and continued building and infrastructure upgrades. The project will also construct a new stair tower addition to connect floors 1 through 4, replace a roof paver system on the 1st floor, and provide a new accessibility ramp connecting the Forbes Avenue sidewalk with the building's 1st floor plaza. The project is estimated to have a total project cost of $34 million. The second approved project is the new upper campus chilled water plant and distribution. This project will construct a new chilled water plant and distribution system on the upper campus with an initial cooling capacity of 7,500 tons with the ability to expand to 15,000 tons. The new plant will support campus chilled water growth and resiliency through connection with planned new construction projects on the upper campus and the university's existing chilled water network. A new electrical substation will be provided to serve the new plant, as well as future electrical growth and redundancy on the upper campus. The project will also provide a significant stormwater reuse system that will capture stormwater on the upper campus and send it back to the new chilled water plant for reuse, thus lessening the university's impact on the city of Pittsburgh stormwater infrastructure. The estimated total project cost is $117 million. The first real estate acquisition is the 5th Avenue and Halkett Street property. The committee approved acquisition of a site at the corner of 5th Avenue and Halkett Street, including approximately 0.8 acres of land with a buildable footprint of approximately 34,000 square feet. This project has been approved by the city of Pittsburgh for development of a structure of up to 285,000 square feet. The university intends to purchase the improved site, zoned and originally assembled for a commercial life science development, from the current owner, a limited partnership controlled by Walnut Capital. The purchase will include land acquisition, site improvements, demolition, entitlements and permits, completed architectural, engineering, and traffic plans and studies, and structural steel. The committee approved a purchase price of $19,519,165, pending final due diligence. And the second real estate acquisition is the Bates Street site assemblage. The committee approved acquisition of an assemblage of parcels bounded by Bates Street, Boulevard of the Allies, and Zulema Street, consisting of approximately 18,500 square feet on 12 lot block parcels. Walnut Capital plans to acquire the property, demolish a set of condemned townhomes, and transfer the property to the university, with the university's commitment to reimburse Walnut's costs and expenses. This property sits at an important and highly visible juncture for the university. An acquisition will enhance a key campus gateway. The approved purchase price is $5,600,000 for the land, plus approximately $399,125 in reimbursable costs, demolition expenses, and transactional costs, pending final due diligence. Mr. Chairperson, this concludes my report.
Thanks, Pete. Now I'd like to call on trustee Ed Greffenstedt for a report of the investment committee. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I'm pleased to provide an update on the public meeting of the investment committee. On Thursday, June 10, 2021, the investment committee held a public meeting to approve 2 spending distribution rates for the consolidated endowment funds. Specifically, with respect to the university's operating funds quasi-endowment, the income percentage remains unchanged for fiscal year 2022 and will be 4.75% of the 3-year average market value. The income from this fund supports student financial aid. The distribution rate for the other funds in the consolidated endowment fund remain unchanged for fiscal year 2022 and will be 4.25% of the 3-year average market value. In addition, there is a 0.45% charge annually to fund administrative costs. Mr. Chairperson, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Ed. I'm going to call on trustee Doug Browning, who will give the report of the Committee of Nominating and Governance in the absence of Committee Chair Lou Costello. I'm also going to announce that I will be abstaining from the next 2 items of business and turning the meeting over to trustee Browning. Doug?
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I would like to present the report of the Governance Nominating Committee on behalf of its chair, Lou Costello, who, as you noted, is unable to join us today. The Governance and Nominating Committee is charged with the responsibility of presenting recommendations to the Board of Trustees for potential board members and fulfilling other trustee positions. As permitted under the Sunshine Act, the committee held executive sessions prior to this meeting for the purpose of considering such appointments. Full discussions were conducted, but no vote or formal action was taken at that time. At a duly advertised meeting on June 18th, the committee endorsed the recommendations contained in the resolutions that are before the board today. In your meeting materials, you will find the slate of candidates for the Board of Trustees, the chairperson and vice chairpersons of the Board of Trustees, and the Board of Directors of UPMC. With respect to the resolution of electing and re-electing members of the board, there are several incumbent trustees who are being presented for re-election to the University of Pittsburgh Board of Trustees. For term trustees, Sunday Bridget Jones, Roberta A. Loxbacher, Thomas E. Richards, and Adam C. Walker. As an alumni trustee, Larry J. Merlot, and as special trustees, Salisa L. Berrien, Tamara M. Hadid, Thomas M. Kurtz, Janine T. Schonecker, and Herbert S. Shear. In addition, there are 3 candidates for first-time election to the University of Pittsburgh Board of Trustees to serve as special trustees. Najid Abulaban, the President and Chief Executive Officer, Superior Industries, one of the largest light vehicle wheel suppliers in the world. Deborah Sen, a noted biomedical researcher and social entrepreneur who founded SA Biosciences Corporation, the nonprofit organization Wiz Chinese, and the former marketplace platform In Kind, and Brian S. Selesky, the co-founder and chief executive officer of Argo AI, an artificial intelligence company working to develop self-driving automobile technologies. On behalf of the Governance and Nominating Committee, I would move for the approval of this resolution. Are there, now, Mr. Chairman, you passed this to me, so I will ask for the vote. Thank you. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
This is Tom Richards. I must abstain.
This is Robbie Luxbacher. I abstain.
This is Larry
Lisa
Marlowe.
Barron?
Larry Marlowe, I've abstained from the vote.
It's Lisa Barron, I abstain.
Herb Shear, I abstain.
Tammy Haddad, I abstain.
Sunday Bridget Jones, I abstain.
Perfect. With respect to the resolution re-electing the officers of the Board of Trustees of the University of Pittsburgh, the materials recommend the re-election of Thomas Richards as chairperson of the board, Mary Ellen Callahan, and Louis R. Costello as vice chairman of the board. May I have a motion and a second, please?
I move it.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion?
I have to abstain. Tom Richards.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? In addition to Mr. Richards' abstentions, any other abstentions?
Yeah, Doug, it's Mary Ellen Callahan. I abstain.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Great. Then the resolution is approved. Thank you. Mr. Chairperson, I think at this point I can turn the chair back over to you.
Okay, thanks, Doug. And congratulations to all re-elected board members and officers. I look forward to continuing to work with you, and thank you for agreeing to serve another term on the board. I would also like to congratulate our new board members who will attend the fall meeting of the board. Trustee Browning, please proceed with the next resolution.
Thank you. The Governance and Nominating Committee recommends the election of the University Trustees to the UPMC Board. This year, the Governance and Nominating Committee is recommending the re-election of Eva Tansky-Bloom, former chairperson of the board, as the University Director of the UPMC Board of Directors. Mr. Chairperson, on behalf of the Governance and Nominating Committee, I move the resolution be approved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Chairperson, this is Eva Bloom and I abstain.
Thank you. The resolution has been approved. Congratulations and thank you, Eva, for your willingness to serve on the UPMC Board of Directors again. Thank you. Trustee Browning, please move to the final resolution of the committee.
The final resolution of the committee relates to the amendment to the university bylaws regarding faculty tenure and tenure streams. This committee is charged, the nominating and governance committee is charged with reviewing and updating the bylaws. For the final resolution from this committee, the Academic Affairs and Libraries Committee has presented a revision to the bylaws on faculty tenure and tenure streams. The recommendation was approved by the Academic Affairs and Libraries Committee at its February public meeting. Mr. Chairperson, on behalf of the Governance and Nominating Committee, I move the resolution be approved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The resolution has been approved.
Mr. Chairperson, this concludes my report on behalf of Lou Costello, Chair of the Governance and Nominating Committee.
Thank you, Doug. I would like to thank Trustee Browning, Vice Chairperson Lou Costello, and the members of the Governance and Nominating Committee for the amount of time they have invested in evaluating and nominating qualified candidates to the board. I would also like to acknowledge Trustee Browning, Chair of the Academic Affairs and Libraries Committee, Trustee Larry Merlot, Chair of the Research and Innovation Committee, Vice Chairperson Mary Ellen Callahan, Chair of the Student Affairs Committee, as they conclude their terms as committee chairs at the end of June. Thank you for your expert guidance, hard work, and the dedication to your committees. Please accept the clocks that were sent to you prior to the meeting as a small expression of our large and immense gratitude for your service. With term limits and the election of new candidates comes mixed emotions of having to acknowledge that other members of the board will end their term today. I would like to acknowledge Eva Tansky Bloom, Ira J. Gumberg, and Dawn S. Hickton for their many years of devoted service to this board. Eva has served on the board since 2004 and has served as chairperson of the board from 2015 to 2020. Eva, this board and our university will always be grateful to you for your leadership, service, and also your friendship. Ira began his service to the board in 2005 and also took on additional trustee duty of serving on the UPMC Board of Directors. Ira, we will be forever thankful for your invaluable contributions to the university and the board, and in particular to the investment committee. And Dawn joined the board in 2008, serving on many committees, and most recently as chairperson of the ad hoc committee on fossil fuels. Dawn, we are extremely grateful for your hard work and many, many hours on the fossil fuel committee, to say the least, and your commitment to the board and the university. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, in recognition of and appreciation of your service, I would like to present Eva, Ira, and Dawn with the University of Pittsburgh Trustee Medallion, which they received in the mail. Finally, I would like to also acknowledge Emil Spatafor and David Tilstone, two of our regional campus representatives who are once again rotating off the board. We appreciate all you do for the Titusville and Greensburg campuses and the university in general. We're now going to move to our committee reports. I'm going to ask Trustee Mary Ellen Callahan for a report on the Student Affairs Committee. Mary Ellen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The Student Affairs Committee met on February 25th and May 19th, 2021. During the public meeting on May 19th, the committee approved 3 resolutions regarding student fees. First, student recreation fee and student activity fee reinstatement resolutions. In June 2020, all student government boards on each of the 4 campuses that charge a student activity fee and/or student recreation fee requested that the university temporarily reduce these mandatory student fees for their respective campuses to account for the anticipated decrease of in-person student activities due to COVID-19 health and safety guidelines for the 2021 academic year. The Student Affairs Committee of the Board of Trustees approved 2 mandatory student fee reinstatement resolutions at that May 19th, 2021 public meeting. At each campus, the fees have been returned to their normal amount. For example, at the Pittsburgh campus, the student activity fee was for all non-College of General Studies undergraduate full-time students was raised from $80 to $100 per semester and from $24 to $30 for part-time students per semester. As an example of an increase at the regional campuses, at the Johnstown campus, full-time students' recreation fees were raised from $61 to $76. And at the Bradford campus, full-time students' recreation fee was raised from $72 to $90, and part-time student recreation fees were raised from $20 to $25. Second, the student wellness fee reinstatement resolution. In June 2019, the Student Affairs Committee of the Board of Trustees had approved 2 consecutive annual increases to the student wellness fees for undergraduate and graduate student, both full-time and part-time, at the Pittsburgh campus to support student counseling and student health services programs. The first of those increases took effect in fall 2019. The second increase, scheduled for fall 2020, was postponed due to the uncertain economic impact of COVID-19 and reduced in-person activities. During that May 19th, 2021 public meeting, the Student Affairs Committee of the Board of Trustees approved the resolution to reinstate the second student wellness fee increase, effective academic year 2021-2022. Despite the 2 increases of the student wellness fee, Pitt's fees remain one of the lowest among benchmark peers. At the Pittsburgh campus, full-time undergraduate and graduate professional students' fees were raised from $180 to $230 per semester, and part-time student fees were raised from $90 to $115 per semester. The Student Affairs Committee will hold a special meeting in July to consider whether to raise the mandatory security and transportation fee. Mr. Chair, this concludes my report, my last report as chair of the Student Affairs Committee. I know the committee is in good hands with the incoming chair, Robbie Luxbacher. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ellen, for your service and the report. I'm going to now move to the Chancellor and call on Chancellor Gallagher for his report.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everyone. It's as always a great pleasure to be here. I normally say in person, but we're together through the power of technology for our summer Board of Trustees meeting. Obviously, I wish we were together in person, but we are planning to have that opportunity at our next meeting in the fall. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I want to thank everyone before I start with my report for your service and leadership. This has been a particularly busy season. I know I seem to say that every meeting now. I've been incredibly impressed with the breadth and depth of work on all of our committees. It really reflects the leadership and service of the members of this board for the university. So you have our appreciation for all of the work that you've been doing. The June meeting always features the internal business of the board, which includes certainly new members of the board and outgoing trustees whose terms are over and the changing of roles within the board. I want to start by extending my congratulations to our new class of trustees, Majdi Abulaban and Deborah Sen and Brian Selesky. I've had the pleasure of working with all 3 of these remarkable individuals, and I know they're going to have a great impact in their service to the university. And so I want to congratulate them on their election to the board and say how much I'm looking forward to working with them. Unfortunately, and this is always the rough part of this meeting, the same governance dynamics that brings in a new class of trustees also means that the terms of some of our longest standing trustees is over. And this is always difficult, but I have to say this seems particularly difficult this year because it's quite frankly difficult for me to imagine the university without the contributions of these three individuals on the board. And in my case, I mean that quite literally because two of them were on the Chancellor Search Committee that hired me. And without them, I might literally have nothing to say today. Eva, Ira, and Don, each of you have given so much to Pitt during your time as trustees. I should note that collectively, the three of you account for more than 46 years of service to the university as trustees. And Eva, that of course includes your 5 years as chair of the board, which is 5/7 of my entire existence as chancellor. So you're 71.4%, but you're 100% in my heart. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for what you've done. The good news, of course, is that we have deviously found other ways to continue to work with you. And so this is not a goodbye. It is, however, an opportunity for me to formally thank you on behalf of the entire university for your service, your friendship, and your leadership. Pitt is simply better off in every way thanks to you. And I believe there's no higher praise in service to our university. So thank you. In my report today, I'm going to focus really on two different topics. I will be introducing our new framework for the plan for Pitt, which is what we call our 5-year strategic plan, and which will begin to be implemented this fall. But I want to start with the discussion about transition from last year, such an unusual and disrupted year in so many ways, and talk a little bit about the year before us. I thought one way of doing that before we dive into some of the details is I'd like to acknowledge the Pitt students who persevered and accomplished exceptional things despite that disrupted year. And I mean every single one of our students on all 5 campuses, and our graduate students and our undergraduate students, but a special call out to those who graduated in 2020 and 2021. This extraordinary, unpredictable, and challenging year and a half didn't stop them. So in celebration of all those students, we put together a short video for you. As you know, students are the heart, they're the purpose for everything we do here at Pitt, and I think you'll find this as inspiring as I do.
At the University of Pittsburgh, we don't shy away from hard work. We tackle challenges head on, even during unprecedented times. It's our commitment to forge ahead no matter the circumstances. In the past year, we embraced uncertainty, showed resilience, and accomplished amazing things. In many ways, our students led the way. They rose to new heights, tackled global challenges, cared for their community, influenced national discourse, and helped to make the world a better place. It is their care and commitment that makes this place special.
I find that Pitt students have a better understanding of the bigger picture. We're not just focused on coming here and getting a degree and ticking off all the boxes on our resume. It's more about what we did and the impact that we had while we were here.
I think that all of the experiences, all of the interactions with students, with faculty, in the neighborhoods, in the communities, really is going to help shape me to be a better person moving on, even in ways that I won't realize for maybe 10 or 15 years.
When I thought about college, I kind of just thought of like my courses, like, okay, I'll do A, B, and C, and then I'll graduate. But I didn't realize how great the college experience would actually be and how much Pitt would actually help me develop not only professionally, but personally, and like how I grew myself, my mindset.
The most valuable currency there is for me is to have a positive effect on others. So finding a professional career that does just that is going to be very beneficial, and I think Pitt has prepared me for that.
I studied abroad in 2019, the summer of 2019 in Tanzania. We were able to connect on a deeper level of not only what we study, but seeing like how we want to make the world a better place. And I would say that like that experience is the reason like I want to go into global health policy, but it's also like the reason I'm so appreciative now for like what I have.
The university provided me financial aid that was really, really beneficial. And that was kind of an investment into me. And I wanted to make sure that I invested back into them and gave all of my time and effort to the university.
I'm really glad that I chose to come here because of Sydney that I am. I'm just so excited for her to make her mark on the world and to like just, I don't know, make Pitt proud.
After coming to Pitt, I can honestly say it was the best choice I've ever made. I've gone abroad, I've done multiple internships through Pitt Business, and I've made so many friends and so many opportunities.
And their impact continues long after they leave our campus. Always resilient, always moving forward, no matter the obstacles. Hail to Pitt.
You know, when we hear Mark Harding give an admissions update and talk about the incredible class coming in, we know that exceptional students are choosing to come here. But when you see this, you really gain the appreciation of how our students really are going to make the world a better place. And Sydney, we are incredibly proud of you at Pitt. We're incredibly proud of all of our students at Pitt. And this year just demonstrated how special you are and what you can achieve. So thank you for making Pitt such a special place. I'm going to turn now to a little bit of the work of the committees. Over recent weeks, you have been looking at many aspects of the transition to the fall and how the landscape of higher education has changed in light of the pandemic, whether it's the budget, whether it's program adjustments from Flex at Pitt, to a new medical support office and virus management programs, to hiring freezes or early retirement programs or workplace adjustments and new flexibilities. And of course, the discussion about how do we communicate and engage with the students, faculty, and staff who are really the ones that have been dealing with this disrupted year. So thankfully, not that things are over, but we do get an opportunity to turn our attention and look forward. And I'd like to talk about two issues before turning to a longer range look forward with our strategic plan. First, to talk about safety and readiness in a vaccine available environment that we find ourselves in now, and also to talk about the enrollment situation for our incoming class. You know, regarding the safety of our campus for the coming fall, I just want to repeat what many of you have heard me say in various committee meetings. You know, there's a media debate happening today that tends to equate the existence of a mandate about vaccines with whether a campus is safe. This is a very unhelpful and counterproductive discussion. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is so-called mandates being reported broadly in many cases are not mandates. A close review of the announcements at schools that have announced mandates show that there will be unvaccinated individuals on their campuses. And in fact, when you look at the practices, mandate or no mandate being proposed on most US campuses, they are in fact quite similar. So let me back up a little bit and address this in a more hopefully straightforward way. Let's start with some basic facts. The virus is still here. It will be with us. It will be around this fall. And in fact, as we are reading, new variants are in circulation that are potentially more contagious and pose a greater risk to our student population than the virus variants that were in circulation last fall and spring. It's also the case that vaccines are here. The US is fortunate that we have widely available, highly effective and safe vaccines, and the vaccination rates, while slowing down, continue to progress to levels that should greatly attenuate the size and scale of outbreaks that we experience in our communities. We also know that health guidance has been complex, not always uniform, and it will continue to evolve as we learn and understand more, and as we adjust to the new reality of this sort of mixed immunity. And generally, we expect less, not more government requirements and potentially more guidance and recommendations. The plans for the fall at Pitt are based on a simple fact. We believe that the vaccines are safe, available, and highly effective, and we strongly recommend and expect all of our community, students, faculty, and staff, to be fully vaccinated before they come back on campus for the fall term. However, we realize that some will not or cannot get the vaccine, and our safety program must be able to accommodate the risks associated with having some portion of our community that is not vaccinated. We will not bar somebody from attending or working at Pitt based on their vaccine status. However, this mixed immunity will complicate our responsibility to ensure that the campus is safe and healthy for everyone. This means that the virus management program, things like testing and quarantining and PPE and all of those too familiar requirements, may be required next year, although those that are vaccinated will likely be exempted from many of those requirements. This approach, kind of two health standards, is fully consistent with the latest medical advice and guidance, and we know, properly adjusted, it can provide a safe and effective environment for our programs and our activities. So in short, next year is not back to pre-COVID. It's not back to fully normal. But if most or all of us get the vaccine, it will be very close to the same robust environment at Pitt that existed before this pandemic. Depending how large the unvaccinated population is, we may have disruptions if the imposition of virus control measures to ensure safety are necessary. But the campus will be safe. The real question is, what are the consequences of that safety as we manage this together? The second item I want to cover is enrollment. You know, when the pandemic started, I remember talking with this board, and we were quite uncertain about the effect that a global worldwide pandemic would have on the admissions and enrollment process for students going to college. And we certainly saw disruptions over the past year and a half. We saw major effects like the interruption in standardized testing programs that are used for admissions, widespread travel and visa disruptions, limitations on in-person activities on campus, and certainly that included, at the very least, campus visits for prospective students, but also what expectation of what life on campus would be like. Certainly a widespread adoption of distance or remote learning across the country. And of course, maybe most impactful of all, the economic hardship and uncertainty that fell upon families and hurt their savings and eliminated that postgraduate employment opportunities that our graduates were counting on. So with all of those things happening at a global and national scale, we really honestly did not know what would happen to student demand in the long run. So we are now beginning to get a glimpse. And while the student data is not final in June, obviously, they do give us a sense of where we're going. And I'd like to share that with you. Some context first. Enrollment declines last year were felt very unevenly across higher ed. It tended to fall harder on community colleges and some of the less selective 2- and 4-year institutions and campuses than it did on selective and comprehensive 4-year institutions. Today, I'm going to focus on the undergraduate enrollments on the Pittsburgh campus, in part or mostly because the enrollment situation on the regional campuses and for our graduate and professional programs is continuing, and the data really is too premature to draw any firm conclusions. What I can say generally about all of our programs is that we are seeing clear evidence of a rebound from some of the enrollment losses from last year in these programs But there will be some effects like international and local demand that we'll update in the fall. On the Pittsburgh campus, paid deposits, a measure of likely student enrollment in the fall, is extremely strong. Between 2019 to 2021, the number of first-year students depositing is up more than 23%. That's just shy of 1,000 more student deposits for this year's incoming first-year class relative to the same point in time in 2019. So clearly there is extremely strong demand. Maybe it's pent-up demand, maybe it's a reflection of restored new normal demand, but it's very high for Pitt in 2021, and there's great excitement about the fall semester. And I should say this happened despite the fact that the admissions process was so disrupted. More on that in a second. But to put this in context, these preliminary numbers suggest strongly that we are going to set multiple new records this year. New number of applicants overall, a record number of Pennsylvania students, a record number of non-resident students, a record number of Pell eligible students, a record number of African American and Black students, record number of Hispanic, Latina students, and a record number of underrepresented minority students, and a record number percentage of minority students. This is remarkable. In the midst of all this uncertainty and test optional inventory and no personal visits. And I want to thank the Pitt admissions team foremost, but everybody at the university whose hard work and dedication is at play here. And just remember, campus visits were not happening until quite recently. Students were making their decisions with virtual campus visits. Test optional admissions were introduced just last year, and over 50% of our applicants opted for test blind admissions. And we've never assembled a first-year class under these conditions. So everything has been about innovation, perseverance, and creativity with how we reach out to applicants and generate enthusiasm for Pitt. And I hope you're as impressed with their work as I am. It's simply remarkable. So a very good omen for the fall. And we're going to have a crowded campus as we return, a good problem to have. Let me now turn a little bit longer look at the future and talk about our strategic planning process. Today, for your consideration, I am pleased to present a final draft of our new Plan for Pitt framework. This is the next chapter of our 5-year strategic plan for the university, and we plan to put this into action this fall. I want to start with a little bit of history about the plan and the planning process to remind you how we got here. The first plan for Pitt was released in 2016. We started with a board retreat, got your input about the changing landscape, identified strategic goals in 6 key areas of academics, research, community, diversity, global engagement, and foundational strength. And by all measures, we've made enormous progress with this plan. This planning process was widely adopted by our schools and programs, and it was the basis of reporting to the board what we were doing and for your consideration and review as we did it. So this formulation has served us well for more than 5 years, but it's always important that your strategic planning be a live process, a continuous process, especially if your plan is working. So in refreshing the plan for the next 5 years, our goals were simply to first build on the strengths and successes of our first Plan for Pitt. 2, make adjustments to our strategies, in particular to respond to new opportunities or new challenges that the university may be facing over the next 5 years. And importantly, we wanted to improve our capacity to implement our goals through effective planning and execution. So let me start as well with another comment. The plan I'm presenting today is not mine. This is very much a collective effort that cut across the entire university, involving key stakeholders from within and from without the university. We kicked this off in late 2019. This board will remember we had a retreat, much like we kicked off the first process, to discuss the strategic opportunities and threats facing the university. And we initiated at the same time an open and transparent community-wide strategic planning process. This included the retreat, as I mentioned, but also hundreds of people across the university. And I'm delighted with the response from the university community. It was enthusiastic and dedicated. We had more than 100 people involved in the steering committee and the goal committees. We had many more, hundreds more, who participated in workshops, responded to surveys, submitted their ideas to us and their aspirations, and who reviewed the multiple drafts that have been posted and circulated for comment along the way. So the plan I'm sharing with you today is not a top-down directive. It's our collective shared view from the university community, from all 5 campuses over the last 18 months. And I hope that our students, faculty, and staff will see that this plan reflects their very best ideas about how we can move Pitt together. And finally, a little bit of context before I jump in. The document we're talking about today is not the full plan. And this goes to the heart of improving our planning process. A strategic plan, and certainly the strategic plan for Pitt, is now composed of several elements. The strategic framework, which is the document we will look at today, is really the North Star for our strategic efforts. It lays out the direction, the objective, lays out where we're going as a university. And it starts with 2 things. One is our mission and values, the stable, steady part of our direction. But it also layers in the strategic actions that we need to take in response to the changing environment around us that will shape our actions so that we can be successful in our mission. And that's the purpose of the framework we're going to review today. The next part of the planning process is the one that begins in the fall, the implementation planning. This takes the framework and each year develops concrete initiatives and actions that are defined, tracked, funded, and carried out. This is where measurable objectives are laid out, where the funding and budgets and the responsibility for these programs is established, and that when these projects are successfully completed, advance our progress towards our strategic goals. So the implementation planning is dramatically scaled up from what we had 5 years ago. We had the school and program-based planning that was very strong, but we now have a robust university-wide campus program that is integrated with our annual budget and our management tracking programs. And I'll cover that a little bit more in a moment. In terms of the direction laid out in the framework, there's really 2 types, as I said. One is the stable and inclusive part of the direction, and the other is a bit more contemporary and targeted. And by the stable part of our direction, I mean, of course, our mission. The university has been around since the birth of this country, and our fundamental mission remains exactly what it was. We are here to improve lives of the students who go to Pitt and our region. In other words, to make this world a better place. And we do that through education, research, and service. We are not trying to reinvent our mission. We are a mission-stable organization, and we reaffirm that mission here and the values that support it. These institutional attributes or values drive our actions, even when they aren't part of a plan or document or initiative, and they operate in a powerful way below the surface. But they must be acknowledged, nurtured, and supported to drive the culture of the institution and to achieve their maximum impact. And many of you have read business journals and articles, and you know the famous Peter Drucker quote that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, that's why. These are the things that shape the actions across an institution all the time, even when it's hard. The other type of direction that's established in a strategic plan is a bit more targeted and contemporary. It focuses on what things do we need to do to address threats or opportunities that we will face over the coming 5-year period. So this portion of our plan is intentionally focused, a bit more selective, and it's temporal. It focuses on this specific time frame. Unlike the first plan, we've now reorganized how we present these strategic goals. We are now organizing them into 3 pillars or areas: our people, our programs, and all purpose. And I'm going to share with you why we think this is a great structure. But in short, this focuses on who we are, the enablers of our mission, what we do, the things that we carry out to do our mission, and finally, the impact we have. What difference do we make? What is our value proposition? And we believe these three pillars is now a simple, more powerful way of sharing and communicating our strategic efforts on what really matters for the advancement of the university. So I'd like to take a moment now to talk a little bit about each of these areas. Our first one starts with what we are. And it quickly is people. Pitt is a people-powered institution. Our mission is made possible by our ability to attract exceptional individuals to the university, students, faculty, and staff, to learn, to teach, and advance the frontiers of knowledge. And so this pillar provides a place where we identify strategic goals that are about strengthening our ability to attract, retain, and support those individuals, and to support how they work together as a collective community dedicated to our academic mission. On the next slide, you'll see that the strategic goals in this area focus on people and how we attract, support, and enable them. So it includes things like the attraction and retention of students, faculty, and staff. It includes promoting a community that is where everyone belongs, that's inclusive, diverse, and equitable. But it also provides a community that defends our academic purpose through protections for academic freedom and for the academic autonomy or faculty-determined programs in our teaching and research activities, and a robust shared governance system, things that are essential to the academic purpose of a university. They also include equipping Pitt to be a great place to work and learn, with support for mentorship, collaboration, and new opportunities across the university. It includes goals for protecting our community members and supporting those who grow, an outstanding world-class student experience that is second to none, both inside and outside the classroom, and ensuring that our built environment, our facilities, provide the support to advance what we do and help us achieve our goals. All of these things are in the service of enabling the Pitt community to do what they do best, to drive our programs, our purpose, and our success. The next area of strategic goals is our programs. In some ways, this is the most obvious area. These are the things we do, our academic mission, our activity programs, our research activities, and our service, and our community engagement. And here we are defining ways to improve the quality of these programs, the reputation of these programs, or the reach of these programs. So you'll see on the next slide that the program area includes strategic goals, many of which should be familiar to you because we've been discussing them over the last year, that we believe are near-term objectives for strengthening key programs at Pitt. And this includes a focus on the profile and size of our graduate and professional programs at the university, expanding ourselves into new markets, reaching new students with distance and remote learning approaches in particular, improving our capacity to do large-scale, transdisciplinary, sort of problem-sized collaborations, both within the university and outside the university, enhancing our innovation and creating the academic and teaching environments for exceptional progress in our teaching and scholarship, something that was very much in our first plan. And again, it's very much in our first plan, building on and expanding our leadership in global civic and community engaged work. The last goal area is the one that in many ways was the newest framing. What we did here is we identified goals that define what difference does Pitt make? What is our impact? And these strategies stretch outside the university. Much of the impact happens after students graduate or in our communities after our programs have had an impact. And here we're clearly defining how do we make the world a better place? And what I think is really novel about this, how do we hold ourselves accountable for those outcomes? So here the strategic goals include things like moving beyond program achievements like degree completion and look at how our graduates are doing after they graduate from Pitt. Are they leading successful lives? Are they getting jobs? Are they making a difference? It positions our research programs to ask, are they making a difference in how fields work? Is medicine better? Are the healthcare disparities of our region being addressed? Is the region benefiting economically? Is the world being engaged and collaborating? Are we making a difference on the deep societal problems that we face in social justice or in community inequity, in participation in the economy? You know, it's interesting, this goal area has made many uncomfortable as we've developed it, but it's also generated some of the greatest excitement. This is where we take on the big challenges that a great university should do. This is where, you know, addressing the health disparities in our region is something that becomes a key part of our strategic purpose as a university. We're providing a great career path and supporting early alumni after they leave campus, you know, extends our services beyond graduation. And where our alumni network now becomes a primary and essential part of our university. They're an essential part of extending Pitt and providing that support to our graduates and ensuring that Pitt makes a difference, because our alumni are in fact the primary way in which we achieve that mission purpose. So the process we've created puts this plan, this directional framework into action, and we'll launch this fall. You always start with planning, of course, and we are in the midst of that now. Many of the most transformative ideas will continue to emerge from the school level and program-based activities that I think was incredibly successful in the first 5-year plan, but we are now adding a university-wide planning and budget process that will allow for university-wide initiatives to achieve that same success. The scale of this is a change. We have created a formal planning office led by Melissa Schild and her team under Harry Sastri's guidance in the CFO's office. This office provides planning development, program management, and budget integration and tracking into a robust planning process. And so guided by the framework that I just presented, we now have a mechanism with wide representation across the university, embracing shared governance to allocate funds, support project management and data collection, and to make sure that we achieve the actions that advance our progress towards these goals. So really this plan is the start and not the finish. I hope it does not live, even though it's a very attractive document, on a coffee table. I hope it's a working document that drives our planning each and every year. I think really that the biggest difference here between the two plans is this process of integrating into the university's budget, management, and operations. Yes, it's been restructured from 6 areas into 3, but I think the real difference here is how we've strengthened our ability to execute our goals. I think that this university showed its creativity in addressing, you know, how do we continue to position Pitt to make the world a better place, despite the fact that higher education, our society, our economy, our entire globe seems to be facing so many challenges. But we believe that many of those challenges need the talents that a university can provide and nurture. So we wholeheartedly endorse the mission of the university, and we believe this strategic plan lays a pathway to make us better. In closing, we've provided the trustees with an electronic version of this framework that I shared with you today. After this meeting, we will be posting this online. We have posted the previous versions, so it should not be much of a surprise to the community. Anticipating that this board will consider this draft between now and the fall meeting. We are marking this as a final draft, if you're curious about that watermark. In discussions with Chairperson Richards, we agreed that this makes the most sense to make sure that the board has an opportunity to offer further guidance and input before we finalize the framework. I want to extend a huge thanks to everyone who made this happen. Certainly Melissa and her team who worked tirelessly on this in the midst of a pandemic, I might add. but also to the enormous community across the university, whether in steering or goal committees or just as volunteers who participated, commented, critiqued, and lent us their insights and expertise. We couldn't have done it without you, and I hope that you see your efforts reflected in this final product. I'd like to assure everyone in the Pitt community, we're not done. This has to be a living document. There will be many opportunities to participate, to contribute, whether it's through the seed funding program or initiatives or school-based activities. Our task now turns to bringing this plan to life over the next 5 years. And the initiatives that will help us make Pitt better, advancing these strategic goals, will continue to evolve, but they're exciting. And I think they push us in a direction that we all want to go. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the board in the coming weeks. Look forward to any comments you have. And I want to thank all of you for your support for Pitt and in particular its mission and priorities as stated in the strategic plan. And with that, Chairperson Richards, that concludes my report to the board. Tom, you're muted, sorry. Another Zoom moment there, sorry.
There we go. Pat, thank you again for not only the report, but the process, the depth, and I think very importantly, the openness with which you and the team have built the platform. And again, I encourage all of the trustees to take the time to consume the information and provide any guidance that we think would be helpful. So under the category of the no rest for the weary, Pat, I'm going to throw it back to you to introduce the next part of the agenda.
Great. Well, thank you. As I said, the June meeting is always our transition meeting because of all the board business, but this year it's with very mixed emotions that we also have a transition on the university side, and will become official in part today. And that's, of course, the transition from Kathy Humphrey as she leaves the University of Pittsburgh at the end of this month to become the 11th president of Carlow University. I want to start, and I promised Kathy, this is very emotional for both her and me, and I promised I would not put her in the position of having to give a speech today. But I do want to reflect, we are so proud of Kathy. It's really difficult to overstate the contribution she has made to Pitt. I thought her first name was Dean when I got here because every student called her Dean Humphrey. She was the ambassador to the university. She was the enthusiasm of the university, and her passion and personal connection and her genuine personality with all of our students was remarkable, and I think has led to one of the great student environments that exist anywhere at any university in this country. And then, of course, I asked her to take on a very new set of tasks, coming on to support me as chief of staff, and then support this board as its secretary, and take on a new set of duties that looked outside the university and asked, how do we engage? How do we bring the university together? And Kathy embraced that eclectic and broad challenge and was astonishingly successful. So Kathy, you know how much we love you and appreciate you. We are so proud of you. Carlow is going to thrive under your leadership. And we're delighted that you've somehow brilliantly engineered a transition that didn't require you to move or leave the area. So we look forward to seeing President Humphrey around Oakland in the coming months. But nonetheless, this is our moment to express our appreciation to Kathy, and then shortly thereafter to elect her to Roz Jones as successor as secretary. But Kathy, we did prepare for you a short tribute video that we hope you will enjoy.
Dr. Kathy Humphrey is a force of nature. Anyone who has ever met her can attest to that. She commands and holds our attention, whether speaking with an individual on a topic true to her heart or addressing a crowd of thousands of students. When Kathy speaks, we listen. She has built a far-reaching legacy as a passionate educator, a trailblazer for inclusivity, a woman of faith and courage, and now a university president. So how did Kathy's journey begin? The daughter of Harold, a bricklayer, and Cora Wilson, a homemaker who valued education, Kathy was one of 11 children. At a young age, Kathy would study her father's blueprints and learned on some level that it takes a strong foundation in diverse materials to build a lasting and durable structure. While earning a Bachelor of Science at the University of Central Missouri and a Master of Arts at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, Kathy realized she had a passion for working with students and encouraging them to find their voices. After obtaining her doctorate in educational leadership from St. Louis University, she held the positions of Vice President for Student Development and Associate Vice President and Director of Housing and Student Life. By the time she arrived in Pittsburgh in 2005, Kathy was elevated to the role of Vice Provost and Dean of Students, supporting nearly 30,000 Pitt students. It was a labor of love and a task Kathy took to heart. She is often quoted as saying her mission at Pitt was to provide the best collegiate experience in the world that will prepare students to live lives of significance. And Kathy has done just that. Her goal was manifested through the countless lives she impacted during her 16-year tenure at Pitt. Within student affairs, Kathy enhanced student mental health services, spearheaded a new living learning program for sophomores, introduced campus-wide technologies, and brought to reality two groundbreaking initiatives: the Office of Cross-Cultural and Leadership Development and the Outside of the Classroom curriculum. Kathy has also expanded recruitment efforts to underrepresented students, including the Reaching Inside Your Soul for Excellence, RISE mentoring program, to support a sense of belonging for Black men and other undergraduate students. She redesigned the first-year experience and increased overall retention, graduation, and placement rates. In January of 2015, Kathy was named Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement, Chief of Staff, and Secretary to the Board of Trustees, where her focus shifted to the university's internal and external relations. In her role as Secretary to the Board of Trustees, Kathy was dedicated to diversifying and strengthening its membership. She leaves an incredible legacy, including the creation of the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, Pitt's Community Engagement Centers in Homewood and the Hill District, and the Pitt Diversity Forum, which attracted more than 10,000 online participants last year. During the pandemic, Kathy ensured that the Pitt community remained connected through virtual platforms and events. She also worked closely with Human Resources to ensure staff could volunteer up to 8 hours a week from their work schedule to give back to the community. Kathy has been honored with many distinctions on the Pitt campus, including the Martin Luther King Jr. Creating a Just Community Award and Pitt's African American Alumni Council Sankofa Award, honoring those who have offered outstanding education support to students. The Meyer and Ann Cohen Chabad House recognized Kathy for her efforts to bring kosher food options to Jewish students on campus. And she has been named Pitt Administrator of the Year several times. All the while, she remained in the classroom as an associate professor so she could continue to inspire and make a difference in the lives of students. Off campus, Kathy lived her own personal life of significance in the greater Pittsburgh community and has received many honors. The International Student Federation of St. Louis University even named the Kathy W. Humphrey Award for Diversity as a tribute to her. Kathy also holds leadership positions on the International Women's Forum of Pittsburgh, the Forbes Funds, and served on the Advisory Council for the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. She is a faithful member of a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and the Macedonia Church in the Hill District, where she shares her beautiful voice and devotion to God through preaching and singing. Kathy and her husband Lyle, who is also a constant and positive presence on campus, raised twin sons, David and Daniel, during much of her Pitt tenure. Like any force of nature, sometimes the winds shift and tides change, and Kathy will be heading into a new path in life. Kathy will begin a new journey as the president of Carlow University. She has inspired so many of us at Pitt with her wisdom, vision, and spirit. And, as a result, many Pitt students, faculty, staff, and alumni are living lives of significance, thanks to her.
So Kathy, usually when your life passes before your eyes, it's the end. This is just the beginning. So Tom, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Pat. The board will now read a resolution of appreciation for Dr. Humphrey. Whereas, driven by a desire to touch students' hearts and minds in learning environments that educate the whole student inside and outside the classroom, and to collaborate with dedicated and visionary trustees, faculty, administrators, and community stakeholders, Kathy W. Humphrey, PhD, has been devoted to higher education for more than 30 years and earned national recognition. And
whereas Dr. Humphrey's extraordinary career in student affairs, community engagement, teaching, and service to the Board of Trustees at the university began in 2005, when she was chosen to serve as Vice Provost, Dean of Students, and Associate Professor of Education. And
whereas as Vice Provost, Dr. Humphrey dramatically improved student experiences by substantially increasing student recruitment, particularly within underrepresented communities, restructuring the first-year experience to enhance student development, elevating retention and graduation rates, and creating the outside the classroom curriculum, a nationally recognized program in collaboration with other academic leaders. And
whereas charged with the oversight of nearly 30,000 students as Dean of Students, Dr. Humphrey implemented impactful program initiatives such as improving mental health services for students, developing a sophomore year living and learning program, facilitating the availability of new technologies such as Campus Connect, which provided critical campus information through text messaging, improving career services to enhance placement programs and career kiosks, which provided information about job and internship opportunities, and developing the Office of Cross-Cultural and Leadership Development, all of which will be forever remembered and cherished by past, present, and future students of the university. And
whereas in 2015, in light of her extraordinary achievements, Dr. Humphrey was elected Senior Vice Chancellor for Engagement and Secretary of the Board of Trustees, and was entrusted with the supervision of several university units, including the Office of University Communications and Marketing, Office of Community and Governmental Relations, Office of Academic Ceremonies and University Events, University Senate, Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and Office of the Secretary, and managed multiple special projects for the Chancellor, such as the Wellness Committee, which evaluated the need for a smoke-free campus, the Socially Responsible Investing Committee, the Committee on Disability Inclusion, and the university's first Senior Leadership Academy. And
whereas, imbued with a passion for service and community engagement, Dr. Humphrey has accelerated Pitt's role as an asset and partner to the city through her leadership by founding the Office of Pitt Serves, which provides students with meaningful opportunities for service and reflection, creating the nationally renowned Community Engagement Center initiative, including the university's first 2 community engagement centers in Homewood and the Hill District, chairing the university's year of engagement in 2020-2021, and cultivating critical partnerships with organizations and communities across the city, further institutionalizing Pitt's commitment to the community. And
whereas Dr. Humphrey helped to champion a culture of inclusion, heightening the value of pluralism through the formation of the Office for Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, the creation of the Office of Cross-Cultural and Leadership Development, improvements in the campus experiences of the LGBTQ+ community, the implementation of a program to help minority vendors connect with the university, and the declaration of 2016-17 as the Year of Diversity at the university, which resulted in more than 200 programs, enhanced awareness, and presented a challenge to improve the university's current procedures and perspective. And
Vaughn, you're muted.
Whereas, even in the last weeks of her tenure at the university, Dr. Humphrey worked tirelessly to plan and execute the 2021 commencement ceremony to celebrate all graduates and their families, particularly in light of the extraordinary challenges they endured in the past year, and established an annual event to show appreciation for faculty and staff. And whereas Dr. Humphrey has enriched the Board of Trustees through her dedication to diversifying and strengthening its membership. And
whereas Dr. Humphrey has earned the admiration and respect of the members of the Board of Trustees, as well as of the university's administration, faculty, staff, students, and alumni for her integrity, dedication, loyalty, and devoted service to the university. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Board of Trustees do hereby express their sincere appreciation of and profound gratitude to Dr. Catherine W. Humphrey for her outstanding leadership and exceptional contributions to the University of Pittsburgh. Wish her continued success in her new position as president of Carlow University, and look forward to continuing their valued association with her in common support of the community. And
be it further resolved that this resolution be made a permanent part of the university's records, and that it be suitably inscribed and presented to Dr. Kathy W. Humphrey as a symbol of gratitude for the leadership that she has provided and the high regard in which she is held by her many friends and colleagues at the University of Pittsburgh.
May I have a motion?
So
moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The resolution has been approved. Thank you, Kathy, for all that you have done for this university and the board. We wish you well at Carlow University. You will receive an official version of the resolution to keep. Now, I know that the chancellor promised you that he wasn't going to ask you to make comments, but my script says you might want to ask Kathy if she'd like to make a comment. So I'm going to take advantage of that. Kathy, is there anything you'd like to say today?
Let me just say thank you. Thank you for an amazing experience. I am ready to go to Carlow because of everything that I was able to do at the University of Pittsburgh. When I came to Pitt, I said to Mark and Jim that I needed to make sure that I gained experiences that would prepare me to someday become a university president. And what they asked me to do was to make sure that I created a dynamic student experience. And I really feel like both sides really held up their part of the bargain. I have loved the students as if they were my very own. And even when I see them today in various places, in airports, I oftentimes hear the words, Dean Humphrey, as somebody is coming down a corridor, coming out of a gate. And it is one of my greatest joys to have those relationships that will be for a lifetime. Working with Pat has been so informative, and I have learned so much from him, and I so appreciate our partnership. And we've really been real partners, and we've really worked hard to try to advance the university together. And so I'm really grateful that I will still be working with Pat, just in another way. And so I thank him for all that he has done to continue to provide me opportunities to strengthen my skills, to become who I believed I wanted to become. But most of all, I'm grateful because Pitt allowed me to fulfill the purpose of my life. And that purpose is to make a difference in the lives of other people in a way that they become stronger, that they become wiser, that they know that they are cared and valued for. And that is indeed what Pitt has done for me. And I thank you. I thank each of you. I love each of you. And I am so grateful that we will continue our relationship from this day forward. Thanks again, Tom. And thank you for everything you have done for Pitt as well.
Well, once again, well said, Dr. Humphrey. Okay, Pat, I'm going to ask you to present another resolution.
Wow, that's hard to step in now.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, this is going to sound funny, but, sometimes when somebody as vital as Kathy steps down, people worry that things are going to fall apart. It's a testament to her leadership that I believe the opposite is the case. One of the things Kathy has done is built an incredibly strong organization and put exceptional people into these roles that support the mission that she oversaw. And today I have the pleasure of introducing a resolution to elect one of those extraordinary people to the new role as Secretary of the Board. So with your indulgence, I'd like to introduce the following resolution electing Rosalind E. Jones, Vice Chancellor and Secretary of the Board of Trustees. Whereas Rosalind Jones, Esquire, is currently serving as Associate Vice Chancellor and Deputy Secretary of the Board of Trustees, and whereas Ms. Jones possesses the education, knowledge, and professional skills to fulfill the duties of Secretary of the Corporation of the Board and the Board of Trustees, now therefore be resolved that Rosalind Jones shall be and hereby is elected Vice Chancellor and Secretary of the Corporation, the Board of Trustees, effective July 1st, 2021, and be it further resolved that Ms. Jones shall be and hereby is elected an officer of the corporation effective July 1st, 2021. And be it further resolved that the board extends its congratulations and warm welcome to Rosalind Jones and looks forward to working with her as an officer of the corporation.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The resolution has been approved. Congratulations, Roz.
Thank you very, very much. And thank you for placing your trust in me. I know that I have tremendous shoes to fill because Kathy has been an exceptional secretary. But I look forward to working with each of you and doing everything that I possibly can to assist you and enable you to exercise your fiduciary and governance responsibilities to the university. Thank you.
We're glad you're here. Thank you. Okay, and now, is there any additional new business to come before the board? As a reminder, the fall meeting of the board will be held on Friday, September 24th, 2021. And as you heard from Pat, it's going to be a full week with lots of opportunity for engagement. So I encourage all of you to partake as much as you're able to. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.
Recording stopped.